Welcome back to the grind for a trading post review. This is for the first day of the trading post as far as I'm aware, and I used to do these all the time. Somebody commented asking for trading post reviews. I'll do my best to do them for each day, and I'll do my best to get all the necessary information. I'm a bit outdated, I would say, in terms of complete knowledge on all the specific values to resources, but I'll do my best to research it and ask questions before making the video so that I can pass along the better information to you. So the first item, the featured item, is a glyph. It's actually only 1,850. Usually the glyphs and mythic or higher tier glyphs are more expensive, but this one has the attack stats increase of 5% and HP, I believe it's 3% at max level. And I've seen that there are other Dracul Pylon super shot bonuses that give a lot higher increase, but this is not super shot, it's base attack bonus. So the base attack bonus is going to apply, and then your pylon super shot is going to be increased based off your attack. So having a higher base attack on the tower is gonna kind of exponentially increase the super shot damage because it's modified off the base attack, and this is going to increase that base attack. So that is something to consider, and it is a pretty cheap in terms of glyphs. So if you have an empty spot and you want to grab this, you've got extra sigils, it's definitely something worth looking at. Now, the other one here, the lumber, most people don't really put any value on these lumber packs. I always loved having the lumber packs because I was fairly lazy in terms of mindless grinding for lumber, especially partway into the event. Right at the start of the event, everyone's using their lumber as fast as possible. But then once the event goes on, it's pretty easy to get lumber. Your teammates will usually be able to send it to you. However, I usually liked to get a big chunk of my stuff done as soon as possible, get the rewards as quick as possible, and I would usually have some pretty high or huge big plans for my event. So I would need a lot of lumber to put up a lot of points, and having these lumber packs is just so convenient just to be able to, blast out a bunch of different upgrades without having to go farm lumber. So I always liked having these. Buying them for sigils is a bit hard to justify unless you're at the very end of your branches. You don't really intend to push hard in this next event. You got some extra sigils and you're like, yeah, I want some of that convenience. 20 of these lumber packs is pretty awesome. For 100 sigils, it's not bad. If you are not trying to get any further in any of the branches and you just kind of have leftover sigils, this is something that if I had leftover sigils, I would put into it because I like that convenience. This next one, pretty self-explanatory. You're losing shards in total, but if you've got a bunch of extra fire shards, it's nice to grab the ice shards if you need those shards. Now, these ones are tough. So at first glance, you might be confused as to why you might consider making this exchange. Because if you look at this, 150 egg fragments. Now, 150 egg fragments is a lot, and if you look at it in terms of points, you can get a ton of points in the breeding event using egg fragments. And so doing your breeds with egg fragments is going to get you a lot more points to help you get further down the milestones in the breeding event and get you more rewards and sigils that way. However, if you look at this, to breed Malik, for example, that's the next one I have to breed. It's 1,600 fragments. So we're going to round that down to 1,500 just for math simplicity. And so if I was to do that exchange 10 times, I would be converting 1,500 egg fragments into 300,000 egg tokens. Now, because the egg tokens are discounted and the fragments are not, it ends up actually being more efficient, cost efficient, to convert them to egg tokens and spend the egg tokens, because then you're going to end up breeding the dragon for cheaper. However, you're going to get less points in the breeding event, and therefore you're not going to get as many rewards in terms of chests and sigils from the milestone rewards in the breeding event. The other thing to keep in mind is you need a lot of the lower tier eggs to upgrade your builder's hut as well as to do research, which can all be very impactful for your progression. So I do think for the lower tiers, if you're trying to catch up on breeding especially, it would be worthwhile to exchange some of your fragments into egg tokens. Maybe not all all of them, but some of them, because I do think there needs to be a balance in terms of, progressing through the breeding as efficiently as possible, but also having some fragments to throw in there now and then when you know that you have enough of the other extra eggs so that you can boost your breeding score a little bit. There has to be a bit of a balance, but I think for me, I'm probably not going to do exchange many of them. I might do a couple of those exchanges, but I won't be doing very much because I'll probably take my time in breeding a little bit more and maximize the points that I can earn. However, if you're already very end game, like you're at the end game tier and you're breeding those dragons every time they come out, mythic fragments can be nice because there is no discount on the breeding tokens, so you're not losing value, if that makes sense. And now you don't really need the eggs for the builder hut, so that's another thing that you don't need to worry about at endgame. Also, if you're taking your time to breed and get the most points out of breeding, that's more point effective for endgame players to get more points in breeding event over the period of time. And the other thing to consider, though, is if you have plenty of points, you have an excess amount of egg tokens, and that's not something you're worried about, you can't use those egg fragments to back breed and get other lower tier egg fragments for research and stuff like that. So if you're in that position, you might want to make the exchange for egg tokens so that you can then breed lower tier eggs for research. So it really depends on the situation that you're in, and I think that a balance needs to be there for pretty much every player situation. But I do hope that this was helpful. Good luck, and I hope to see you in the next video.